Hey, this is Mongo Slade. So before we get into NXT, we want to talk about the NXT's newest signings. We got some new signings for NXT. Let's talk about them. So, number one is Anthony Henry. So I saw Anthony Henry in Evolve. He's one of the guys that when Evolve went out of business, he was on the roster. So they kind of slowly but surely bringing all the Evolve talent in, which is the right thing to do because they put Evolve out of business. They essentially just said, "Hey, how about you close Evolve?" And now you had all these guys like Leon Ruff and Kurt Stallion and Anthony Henry and Josh Briggs and a lot of these other people who are, Brandy Lauren, I think also was there, and Shotzi Blackheart. I think they pulled her before they shut down Evolve. Austin Theory too. I think they pulled both of them before Evolve closed, but there was like an entire talent roster that was relying on Evolve for work. And now WWE killed it. They essentially, I hate to use these words, it's kind of a sense of entitlement, but they kind of owe these people a job, you know? So see what you can do for them for now. And last time I checked, I think Anthony Henry's like 36. So he's not like a future WrestleMania main event guy. He's almost 40 already. So he's probably going to be, in the PC helping train people and stuff like that. He's near the tail end of his career. They also signed Lacey Ryan, who I know from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. She's also one of the older women, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if she's as old as Mercedes Martinez, but I think she's one of the older ones. She's been around for a long time. Her NXT name is Zoe Stark. She definitely does not look like a Zoe. I know that WWE kind of have changed their ways on these names, and they've kind of like let these people pick their own names, and stuff like that. But when they saw Zoe, unless that's like her kid's name, you kind of be like, look, or a dead sister or something. You kind of be like, look, we can't have Zoes on this roster. We just can't do it. It won't fly. Like, make up some bullshit. Like the network says no Zoes. We got Priscilla Kelly. Oh fuck, the tampon girl. Uh, Priscilla Kelly shoved the tampon in somebody's mouth. Gross as fuck. She was married to Darby Allin, which means she's a dipshit. And now she's going by the name Gigi Dolan. Gigi Dolan. Okay, whatever. Uh, Look, I'm gonna give Priscilla Kelly. Look, the only thing I've ever seen of her is I've avoided her like the fucking plague after the tampon spot. So I'm gonna give her a clean slate. Okay. I'm going to say if I see her wrestle on NXT or somewhere else in the meantime, because I do watch other things. If I see her wrestle, I'm not going to watch her wrestle a man or anything. But if I see her on something and she actually wins me over with her own abilities, I still won't forget that she did the tampon spot, but I will take it easy on her. I will take it easier on her. Let's put it like that. But she's going to be going by the name Gigi Dolan. And Elena Black, who I thought had never seen before. Like, I put a question mark next to her name. Like, who is this? And then I remember I did see her. This is the tarot card girl. I think she was like a witch or something. And this actually works. Like something that's kind of creepy like that will actually work in WWE. Now, if they actually give her the opportunity to do it, to play with that. And she's going to be going by the name Cora Jade. I'm sorry. And, okay, fine. Cora Jade. So, Lacey Ryan, Priscilla Kelly, and Elena Black would actually be in the women's Dusty Cup. But they will be on teams. I didn't study the roster. So, sorry. But they're going to be in the tournament. So they were signed specifically for the tournament. Probably will be in there for the long term. Anthony Henry, I have no idea what the hell he's going to be doing or where or why. Before we get into NXT, I also want to talk about this because I feel like this is very important. This is why I brought up the Anthony Henry over the age of 30. They need to stop signing so many old people. NXT is already full of people with gray hair and gray in their beards. And you just kind of like, how many more 36-year-olds do we need in NXT? Like, I know they have a glut of younger people who are inexperienced and they don't know quite whether they're coming or going, but we really don't need to be signing any more 36-year-old indie guys. Like, we really don't. And as much as I think Anthony Henry is not bad, but he is a typical flippy indie dude. You know, we didn't really need another one. You know, unless there was some secret skill, you know, we really didn't need that. But I get it. I'm looking at it from a balanced perspective. I get that you put Evolve out of business, which means you cost this guy his job. You owe him a job. I get you that. But just random other people who are like 36, 37, we shouldn't be signing them. You know, we should be like, look, you know, nah, we can't do it. Put a time, like MTV used to hit their demographics by having a cutoff limit. Like, okay, we don't, you know, when you hit 30, you know, that's when they start trying to phase you out in MTV. And that's back in the day. I don't know how it is now. NXT kind of used to do the same thing. Like, I understand you can't have a performance center full of fresh-faced 18-year-olds. I get it. But what is this guy going to do? He's 36. What is he going to do? You know, when you have a bunch of other guys who are also 36 and they're not leaving. Gargano, Ciampa, Mike, how about to call him Mike? Fish, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor. A lot of these guys are older, you know, and they're not leaving. So what are you going to do? You're just going to have like this flu of 40-year-olds in NXT? And then where are your kids going to go? You know? So you need to leave these spots open for the kids. But I also do know that they have been talking about expanding NXT. And that opens up a lot of other opportunities because they're probably going to do a sub NXT, the WWE Evolve system, where they're going to have Gabe Sapolsky write that show. Maybe that's where the point of this whole thing is. They're going to start bringing in all these people, and then they're going to start divvying them up between these people are TV ready, these people aren't. They need to get on that if that's what they're going to do. Because, you know, a lot of people just say, oh, they're just hoarding talent. It's like, you're hoarding guys? Like, how do you hoard? You know, it's like, that's stupid. If anything, you know, you sign people and you try to find something for them to do, or you assign them to do other things. Like, it's not just because they signed a guy who is a wrestler. Doesn't mean they signed him to wrestle. You know, they could sign him as a trainer. They could sign him as a producer. They could sign him as a coach. They could sign him to do other things. He could be a fucking manager at some point. He could do literally anything. You know, so I think we need to take it easy on the whole idea of they're hoarding talent. It's like, you don't hoard talent. Everybody has more talent than they actually use. Everybody does. You know, everybody, you know, New Japan has a dojo full of people that probably won't make TV no time soon. You know, that's just kind of how business is. You know, football teams have more people than you actually see on the field at any given time. You know, so they have squads, they have a glut of people, sure. But my thing is they kind of need to have a age cutoff. You know, unless they have a significant sports background, like they're coming from the NFL or they're coming from college basketball, college football or something like that, or the NBA or something like that. They're coming from some other sport, or they transfer from like powerlifting or the Olympics or something, the Army or something like that. If you're just like, I've been an independent pro wrestler for 14 years, no, we're not signing you. You know, so I don't see why you would. You know, and this guy's 38 or something like that. It's like, come on, bro, you're too old. No. They used to do that because they used to say, like, Tough Enough had an age limit. And then the Boogeyman lied and got on the show anyway. But because the Boogeyman, everybody thought the Boogeyman was cool, they kind of signed him anyway. But he got kicked off the show and they found out he was lying about his age. You know, we kind of need to put a damper on, you know, how many people we sign that are like 36, 35, you know, fresh-faced rookies at 35. Because you really just end up with, you know, some talented people, just nowhere for them to go, you know, and not enough time for everybody. So let's get right into this show. I can't believe I did 10 minutes on that. Anyway, so the first match was Leon Ruff and Kushida defeating The Way, Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory, in the first round of the Dusty Classic. There was a nice backbreaker, netbreaker combo by Gargano and Theory. And Kushida pinned Johnny Gargano with an arm-trapped Northern Light suplex. So they're still building up Kushida to be the contender to Johnny Gargano. And that's fine. Kushida beating him twice now, it seems, is looking like it's going to just lead to Kushida losing against Johnny Gargano one-on-one. But I'll wait till we get there. Leon Ruff is super excited all the time. I need him to vary up his offense. He kind of does the same spot in every match, the whole bouncing across the ropes in the corner. He kind of does that in every match. We kind of need something different out of him. The team is fine. The team is fine, I guess. So we get a pre-tape segment from Pete Dunne, who says that, Finn Balor needs to recognize that they're cut from the same cloth. They're both European, and that, he built, just like Finn Balor built NXT, he built NXT UK. And that, he knows that Balor has been watching him, because Balor says, I don't watch the business. The business watches me. But he says Dunn knows that Balor has been watching him, and he's going to make Finn Balor pass the torch. And I like this. I like Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne is a bit of he's an acquired taste. Let's put it like that. He got that accent, but he has the demeanor. I like Pete Dunne. And he's very young. He's younger than Sasha Banks. Pete Dunne is 27. So, when people say, oh, WWE doesn't have any young stars, Sasha Banks is 28. She's going to be around for a while. And Rhea Ripley's 24. So, the women at least are young. Bayley is only 31. The guys are getting a little old, but the girls are good as far as their age is concerned. So, Pete Dunne is next in line for Finn Balor, and I like that idea. I'm actually teetering on saying they should just give him the belt. I know that you got Cross there, and Cross but Cross doesn't really need the belt, I think. I think he beat Keith Lee, who was a dominant champion. I don't know what you do with him without the belt. Maybe you just have to build a real storyline around it, but I have no idea. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So Malcolm Bivens was waiting outside of Regal's office because he wants to talk about championships. He was trying to get Tyler Russ the championship match, and Tyler Russ went in there and talked to Regal on his own, and he ended up getting a match with Bronson Reed, which is not Bronson Reed, not a champion last I checked. But Bivens kept saying, "Oh, Russ is the future. Russ is the future. Russ is, he's going to be the guy. Russ is going to be the guy. He's a diamond in the rust." And then I said to myself, Tyler Russ is also 36. This guy is 35. This guy's been around for a long time. And I hate to, knock people because of their age, because Tyler Russ is good, and Anthony Henry is actually not bad either. But you have to ask, what's the upside, because I remember having a conversation with somebody, and it was like, how could Vince McMahon not see the money in Bobby Roode? And I said, Bobby Roode is 40. And that's the first thing that came to my mind was like, Bobby Roode is 40. I don't think Vince is going to push a guy that's that close to 40. I think he's like 38 or something like that. And he was over the age of 35 when he came to the main roster. That's one of the bigger things that, and when you're in the Just for Men club, you gotta have already been established. And I still cross my fingers and hope that, eventually Bobby Roode gets there and becomes a world champion, because I really like Bobby Roode. Really, 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 really do. But I always take age into account, because sometimes they're just going to be like, you're just too old. We'd rather go younger. That's really what screwed Ric Flair. That's actually what screwed Brett, because they thought Brett was too old when he was a champion too. Brett was in his mid-30s, early 30s, something like that. I know Shawn was 31. He was younger than Brett. I think Brett might have been 35, 34, maybe, something like that. But age is something to think about. Also all the years on your limbs, your knees, back, neck, stuff like that, it becomes a problem. So the second match was Karrion Kross versus Ashanti Theodonis. I am still heartbroken that Ashanti Theodonis' push just got pushed down the drain. We were doing something with this guy, and now it's over. So it was quick and dirty. Kross just crushed him, which is the right thing to do. Some high-impact offense. I wonder what they're going to call the running forearm that Kross is doing. Does it have a name yet? And they need to give it a name. So Cross is a psycho, and he saw Ashanti Theodonis was hurt, and the doctors and all of those people were trying to help him. And then he attacked one of the doctors and put him in a straitjacket and put him in a chokehold. I'm guessing he's about to do something like a suspension angle or something with him, so that he won't interfere and he can not be around during the whole Pete Dunne, Finn Balor thing. Otherwise, there would be no reason for them to try to get him out of the way. I mean, the only other thing you could do is like an injury angle with him. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. He's out of control, so we got to suspend him. Just long enough for Pete Dunne and Finn Balor to finish their storyline. Okay, so we did an MSK promo, which was dreadfully similar to a Rascals promo from Impact, where it was kind of half silly, half like we're like MTV guys, like we watch like the X Games and stuff like that. Their names are absolute trash. Wes Lee and Nash Carter, absolutely heartbroken on the shit names, but whatever. And they talk about how fate brought them together, but now we're basically like family. But they came across as just like two kids who do like athletic stuff. I'm like, okay, I've had enough flips. But all right, well, I'll take it on the chin because NXT doesn't have a lot of flippy guys in it. So I'll take it on the chin. So Tony Storm and Mercedes Martinez says, they were cutting a promo on Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. And they said, like, they don't need to be friends to win this tournament. They just need to be two tough women, and they need to have a mutual goal. And that's what they got. And I can't believe I screwed that up. I can't believe I botched it. I botched it something terrible. Our cherry-lipped polka goddess, Tony Storm. I'm so sorry. If she hears that, I don't want her to be disappointed in me and crush me with her thighs. Anyway, the third match was Lucha House Party versus Imperium. And Lucha House Party actually won. I was stupefied that Lucha House Party would win a match. Holy shit. They won. This match was actually very good. It was actually pretty good. It's one of the better outings for Imperium. Imperium is one of those teams that a lot of people are not paying attention to because they're not a big personality team. And, they're European. They don't talk very much. And when they do talk, they talk sometimes with accents, or they talk very curtly when they use short words, or But Imperium is very good. I like Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel. They're just a really old school team. Lince Dorado was the babyface in peril. They did an interesting top rope drop kick to Code Red spot, which looked kind of weird because it was kind of a choreographed setup where Fabian Eichner was kind of holding, I think it was Lince Dorado in place as Grand Metalik jumped off the top rope and did the drop kick. I'm like, okay. Well, then Lince Dorado ended up pinning Marcel Bartel with a shooting star press. It was a good match. I enjoyed this. I like Lucha House Party, man. I hate the name. The name has got to go. They got to call them something else. They really do have to rebrand this team. I made a video called The Magic of Names. There's nothing fun about Lucha House Party. There's nothing serious about it. They got to change that. But this is a more interesting thing. Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner were a little disappointed in themselves, but then they saw somebody standing at the top of the ramp, and it was Alexander Wolf. And when they saw Alexander Wolf, they hopped to attention, putting their hands behind their backs as Alexander Wolf looked crazily at them. Alexander Wolf, the hatchet man of Imperium. And I was like, I see what we're doing here. And everybody, you don't need to tell me twice. Alexander Wolf, he is Silver Surfer, right? He's the Silver Surfer. If he's there, that means Walter's coming. I cannot wait. I was promised Walter and Finn Balor. Okay, I was promised Walter and Finn Balor. I want Walter and Finn Balor. I don't care where you have to do it. Do it at Mania. Title for title at Mania. How about that? That's what I'm talking about. They'll never do that though. They'll never do that. They pretend like Walter doesn't exist. That's the sad thing, man. Like he's over there beating the shit out of everybody, and they act like he doesn't exist. He's in a closet, beating the shit out of people. It's a great closet. NXT UK is legit one of the better shows that the WWE does, and it's really fun. And I wish more people watched it. But Alexander Wolf showing up to the side of Imperium ought to change them and give them more focus. And maybe we could do more with them. I'm actually interested. Very, very interested. So the fourth match, Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter defeated Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez in the first round of the Women's Dusty Cup. So this was not traditionally introduced. We got to sit and talk to, we got Beth Phoenix, who had to tell us about the history of women in NXT and how they all had gone to do great things. And all the women were in the dark. Like, she was standing next to the cup with the light, and all the women were in the dark. And then the lights came on, and I guess they had baby faces on one side, heels on the other. I'm guessing that's how they did it. And the women went down to the ring and had their match. Where Mercedes Martinez essentially was physically a physical force. Like, she was in there wrecking. Because Casey Catanzaro is not even an atom weight. I think you have to make an atom weight fight for Casey Catanzaro is a catch weight. She's very small. She's like a paperweight. All right. If there was some way to be smaller than atom weight, she reaches it. She is very small. And Kaden Carter is the heater of the team, and she's small. They look like two children running around. And they kind of act like it too. So Casey Catanzaro does really good lucha stuff though, because she's very athletic. So she does like a lot of the good high flying Hurricanrana type stuff, and that was all fine. So Io Shirai ended up attacking Mercedes Martinez in the middle of the match while the ref wasn't looking. Kind of took her out of the match, which left Toni Storm by herself. And then Casey Catanzaro did the damnedest action figure like flying off the top rope thing I had ever seen. I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to call that. I don't think she could replicate it. I think she just did it, right? Because it's like you take a toy and throw it up in the air, and how it lands is just kind of how she landed. She landed like in a swanton position, but she did like a bunch of other stuff while she was in the air. And she was so light that I doubt it hurt. She probably didn't even feel it. But they won. Our cherry-lipped Paul Goddess got pinned by a female midget. And I had taken on the chin. That sucked. But it'll be better days for our cherry-lipped Paul Goddess for sure. So Finn Balor went to William Regal and demanded to fight Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan because he knows that he wants to fight Pete Dunne, but he knows that Dunne is not going to fight him one-on-one, so he needs to take out Lorcan and Burch. And then Regal says, "You're going to need yourself a partner." And then Balor kind of stared at him. "I don't do partners. I don't do friends. That was the old me." And Balor, he's humorously intense in some of these situations. Like, it makes sense for him to be intense in some situations. In this situation, it doesn't make sense. He's just talking to William Regal about a tag team match. And he's got like veins popping out of his face. Like, settle down. I know they made you smile a lot when you were on SmackDown and Raw. They made you smile a lot. And now you're like, the business watches me. I'm the prince. But like, settle down. You're just talking to William Regal. So, he says that, there's no other way. I'm not going to let you fight these guys by yourself. They're the tag team champions. So then, he kind of goes off. So Ashanti Theodonis is hurt. So he's out of the Dusty Cup. So he was supposed to be in the Dusty Cup, I guess. And Now they're gonna have to replace him. And then Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter come running into the room, and they're super excited. We're gonna win the whole thing. Yeah, we're gonna win the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, they're just like two middle school children. I mean, Caden Carter's kind of cute, but she's very, very small. I've seen her in Evolve. When I watched Evolve on the network. I forget what her name is though. I think I saw Casey Catanzaro there too. Anyway. The fifth match was Tyler Rust versus Bronson Reed, and I asked the question, why is Tyler Rust jobbing to Bronson Reed? Why not just have Bronson Reed be the job guy? You know, Tyler Rust could have been doing something. Could have really been building him towards something. They just have this problem, right? Where that's kind of like, you know, somebody might have a little bit of momentum, feed them to Bronson Reed. Which wouldn't be a problem. If Bronson Reed was being pushed as being legit, and being intense. I know that they're trying to do that, but he just doesn't. He just feels like a big teddy bear. You know, he doesn't feel intense. He doesn't feel like he should. You know, the match was fine. I guess it wasn't that long, but it wasn't short enough to be a squash match. And Tyler Rust didn't really get as Tyler Rust had a great opening match with Tommaso Ciampa. He hasn't had anything on that level since. And it's just kind of been like he's lost in the shuffle already. And that's probably why you shouldn't sign 40-year-old guys. But Bronson Reed needed a win. He needed a dominant win. He got a big win. This was an important win for him. I'm wondering where we go with Bronson Reed, because Bronson Reed is a guy you really should have in the main event. Especially if he's going to be, colossal and not thick boy. Then you can't just have him like win the North American title. You kind of gotta go big with him. You gotta give him the big belt. And I know that he's not on the same level as Dunn and Balor and Undisputed Era and all those guys. He needs to get on that level. He needs to get up there. He needs to find his way up there. I know Shawn and Triple H probably have this thing about big guys. They got to get off of it. Either Bronson Reed is going to lead the fucking company as far as, I think he's the biggest guy there other than Cross. Either they need to lead or we need to reshuffle the deck and he need to be taken out of there. He needs to go to SmackDown or something. But him just winning random matches in the mid card of NXT is not going to do him any favors. But he won the match at least. During the match, we saw Io and our chairlift Paul Goddess, Toni Storm, fighting in the background. And I was definitely offended that Io Shirai, with her small Japanese hands, were trying to touch our chairlift Paul Goddess. How dare she? How dare she charge? And how dare she be angry? She is the one who cost our chairlift Paul Goddess her match in Dusty Road Classic. How dare Io Shirai? I like Io Shirai, but I don't like her that much. She's not my cherry lips Paul Goddess, that's for sure. Anyway, Finn Balor says that he knows some people who owe him a favor, so he goes to Undisputed Era's locker room to stare at them. Cause how he was staring at William Regal. He goes to stare at them now, and he says to them, "You know why I'm here?" And they just like, yeah, I guess. So are you with it, or you're still sucking your meals through a straw? It's like, so that is not how you ask for help. That's not how you ask people for help. You're coming to them for help. Are you still sucking your meals through a straw? So Roderick Strong, who apparently also sounds like he's a 14-year-old boy. Hey man, what's wrong with you? And Cole's like, hey, relax. So apparently he was talking to Kyle O'Reilly. And Kyle O'Reilly said he'll see him next week. And they agreed to team next week against Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. So that ought to be fun. I really am enjoying this Kyle O'Reilly run. It was about time, dog. It's about time. And WWE has finally started to learn that you can push more than one person in a faction. And, without breaking up the faction. Now they're just kind of moving like they had, Roderick Strong still need like a really big run. And I think it's too late for Bobby Fish because I think he's over the age of 40 and he's injury prone. But you got Kyle O'Reilly in the right spot where they're building slowly. And I think eventually he will become the champion. But there are so many solid contenders right now where you got Cross and you got Reed, and you got Thatcher, who won the main event, and you got, the guy who's done. You got some solid guys there, and Kyle O'Reilly already got 2 shots, so you kind of have to justify him getting a third. So, but they're doing something interesting here with this Finn Balor Undisputed Era stuff. That maybe they're going to join forces, and the Undisputed Era shirts are red now. That's one of the red and black. That's the colors Finn Balor has been running with. Red, black, and white. Those are the colors of the Undisputed Era shirts now. They're not rocking the yellow anymore. At least not as much. They kind of moving it red. So ought to be interesting. I'm interested in. I hope that Balor and Kyle O'Reilly just don't beat the tag team champions though. That would suck, because the tag team champions should be the tag team champions. Okay, so Santos Escobar cut a promo. I love Santos Escobar. I really do. Santos Escobar comes out and he talks about he's the champion of champions. And he kind of cuts this really good promo about how other champions are cracking under pressure. That, that he didn't have to break a curse like Johnny Gargano. He doesn't have a glass jaw like Finn Balor. Like he can actually get through title defenses. And he doesn't need to cheat and all these sorts of things. And he talks about how, being a champion is like a heavy chip on the shoulders of everyone else, but not him. He can carry being a champion. He's beaten everybody they put in front of him, including Grand Metalik. He's the standard of Lucha Libre and all that type of stuff. And now his boys are going to win the Dusty Classic. They won the first round match. Now they're going to win their Dusty Cup, and then they're going to become the tag team champion. Then they're all going to be champion of champions. Then, of course, here comes Lucha House Party, who Legado del Fantasma will face in the next round. And Kurt Stallion finally made an appearance. Kurt Stallion, I've been talking about him for like 4 weeks. Kurt Stallion won the number 1 contendership for 205 Live. For the Cruiserweight title, I should say. On 205 Live. On the 205th episode of 205 Live, which had to be over a month ago. Over a month. Like, he's been there for a long time. Kurt Stallion is legit. Okay, Kurt Stallion is really good. When I watched Evolve on the network, he was a perennial guy that they gave a lot of time to, and gave him some big matches, like his matches with Matt Riddle, and his matches with, I believe, Chris Hero. Whenever Chris Hero was going by that terrible name, Cassius Ono, which was, ugh. But Kurt Stallion did really good in those matches. He's a good talent, Why they keeping him in the broom closet of 205 Live, I have no idea. And I don't think he's that old. And maybe that's what it is, and they're trying to, polish him up a little bit. But they're finally bringing him to NXT. He's finally going to get his title shot. That just means he's going to lose, which sucks. Because I would have liked for them to, like, you can't expect this guy to draw, right, and be interesting when you basically told everybody he was the number 1 contender, and then you push somebody else ahead of him, out of nowhere. And then you don't let him cut a promo. You don't let him do anything. You just bring him up and say, oh, okay, now you're going to wrestle for the title. It's like, huh? What? Or you just need to have a match for next week. That's really what it is. But Kurt Stallion is a really good dude. He's a really good dude, man. Hopefully this doesn't, we need to give him some time. So Drake Maverick and Killian Dane will face MSK next week. And, Drake Maverick said, like, hey, this time last year I was having a rough time, but, now I think he's chasing the 24/7 title, being very, very entertaining. And then he was talking about he's got a best friend, and now they're going to win the Dusty Cup and all that type of stuff. It was all right. So then we get to the Fight Pit, which is what I was waiting for. What I was very, very waiting for. Fight Pit, Tommaso Ciampa versus Timothy Thatcher. They did the weigh-ins earlier. Timothy Thatcher weighed in at 225, and Tommaso Ciampa weighed 201. So it was a 24-pound weight difference. So the match started, well, for starters, Tommaso Ciampa definitely needs to cut his hair. Like, he's got the George Jefferson joint coming in. kind of just need to go full Baldy. I think that Triple H is kind of just like whatever. Maybe he's been not going to the barber because pandemic, but kind of does, kind of should go to the barber. But whatever. They started the pit at the top, where they started out really slow, where there was a lot of tentativeness between the two of them, where Thatcher kind of backed off a little bit for a while, and then they started to fight at the top, and Tommaso Ciampa took control. Tommaso Ciampa actually controlled most of this match. There were some parts of it being back and forth, but this was a very different fight pit than Thatcher and Riddle. Thatcher and Riddle had the MMA background. This felt like two guys fighting, right? Like this felt like just, or even in some cases, Tommaso Ciampa trying to have a wrestling match in the fight pit. It didn't have that MMA infused feel that the first match had. And I think it lost something in that sense. But this was still very good. This is still very good. It's still very fun. Thatcher kind of worked the hands and arms of Tommaso Ciampa, also while targeting the neck a little bit and the knees, all these areas that Ciampa had, surgery on, his neck, his knees, his, weakening his arms and stuff like that. And he was using the cage. He would put the guy's arm in between the bars of the cage, or, the little edges in between the walls, and bend them and stuff like that. So they were doing some really good stuff, and Thatcher, was very methodical, and I really enjoy that about his character, that he is very methodical. He seems to think quite a bit while he's in the ring. And so Thatcher kind of uses the bending the fingers and stuff like that, which I know is like a Pete Dunne thing, and I think other people start to do it, and I'm starting to see that a lot. It's like the joint manipulation. I'm starting to see that a lot in wrestling now. But Ciampa used a low blow to get out of a rear naked choke. Then he used a referee who was bending over to use his Willow's Bell, which is his hanging DDT, because there's no ropes in the fight pit. So there was nowhere for him to do it. He had to use a referee that was down. And I was kind of like, I shook my head on that one. Said, like, I don't like choreographed stuff like that. It looks, and this is not the place for it either. Like, it was wildly out of place. But I was like, okay, whatever. Whatever, dude. And but it made sense because, after he was hit the Willow's Bell, it was almost a 10 count. And then, Thatcher got up and they fought a little bit more. Thatcher ran into the cage, and he got caught into the fairy tale ending, which he immediately went from, instead of trying to get a 10 count, and which signifies a knockout in the fight pit, as basically last man standing or submission. And instead of trying to get the 10 count, he went for the submission. So he went for the rear naked choke, and Thatcher escaped. And then the finish came with Thatcher wedging one of Tommaso Ciampa's legs into the cage, between the walls of the cage, and doing a stretch muffler on the other one. And it was basically impossible for him to get loose. And to see it looked harsh. It looked very, very harsh. And Tommaso Ciampa tapped out, submitted in the fight pit to Timothy Thatcher, which was excellent. This was excellent. There was some, again, I think I noticed some of my nitpicks, that the pace was a lot slower, a lot less MMA infused than before, but certainly the best thing on either show. Still very good, and Tommaso Ciampa was, after the match, was disappointed in himself, as Thatcher kind of leered at him from across the ring. There was an idea that they had shared some respect for each other now. I was actually waiting for the outstretched hand. I was thinking, like, okay, they're going to shake. They're going to shake. They're going to shake. And then it never came. So it was cool. So I just happened to see it on Twitter that Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher had a moment, a sort of network exclusive, where Thatcher was, going back to the car, and Tommaso Ciampa basically asked him, like, why didn't you break my leg? And, he admitted, like, hey, you're the Fight Pit champion. You had an opportunity to break my leg in that cage. Why didn't you do it? And Timothy Thatcher said, respect. And then, they both kind of nodded very masculinely. And then Tommaso Ciampa said, hey, I hear there's an open spot in the Dusty Cup. And Timothy Thatcher nodded masculinity again. So Ashanti Theodonis, who got taken out of out of the Dusty Cup by Killer Cross, is now going to be replaced. Him and his partner are going to be replaced by Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. All right. So these dudes are going to go straight from the Fight Pit into being a tag team. Very strange. A little fast with the whole, we just fought each other in a death pit. We were just in a dungeon trying to murder each other. But hey, I kind of like you now, so maybe we can work together. It's a little fast. That's the turnaround on that one's a little much. Because, Timothy Thatcher is a guy who was brutalizing the youth. Timothy Thatcher was brutalizing the youth. And now all of a sudden, Tommaso Ciampa's like, okay, I can forgive all your brutal ways because you tapped me out. You tapped me out, so it's okay for you to abuse your students now. That's so weird. Wrestling is a weird thing. Wrestling is so weird. All right, so Thatcher and Ciampa are going to take part in the Dusty Classic. They're likely going to win it now. But even if they don't win, it's still going to be fun for them to be in it because they'll have Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, and Adam Cole in the tournament. So, we know Gargano is out already. So it's going to be cool. This episode of NXT was fun. The Lucha, I know it's kind of hard to sell people on Lucha House Party because of so many years of WWE jobbing them out. But the Lucha House Party match was good. The Fight Pit was great. Everybody should go and watch that. And that's it. That's basically it. So spread the group word of 3 Count Commentaries by using the hashtag 3 Count Commentaries. Thank you guys for your time, and like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. You can also send money if you can via Cash App. I would appreciate that. That's a tip jar if you really appreciate what I do. And I thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you people later. I'll see you on the next one.